Deputy Chief Mark Redmond. Nobody salutes in the fire service, really, do they?
Not at these occasions, anyhow.
Thank you very much for speaking with us about your machine. This is Maritime Machines. We talk about really interesting and unusual pieces of equipment. I'm thinking there's about 6,000 firefighters across Nova Scotia, volunteer firefighters, hundreds of pieces of apparatus. Only one of these in Nova Scotia.
Correct.
It's an AR-45 hovercraft.
Correct.
So the company that built this, Canadian company.
Correct.
And I noticed a number of search and rescue departments, some police departments have them. You mentioned the airport in Vancouver.
Correct.
Has it to chase off the geese. So what kind of work are you doing with this?
Well, with this, we can do a lot of different things. Like if you're talking fires, we can actually use it as a ventilation tool on commercial buildings.
Well, so what do? You just back into
an opening that's wide enough, and obviously you got to have enough ventilation going out the backside to allow for it to work properly. But you just set up in front of the doorway and push the air through and try to clear the smoke.
Well, that's pretty smart. And you've had to do that?
We have had to do that.
Not in a house, it was commercial structure?
It was at a car dealership.
Okay. So outside of that kind of application, mutual aid is a big thing in Nova Scotia. All departments have, something different that they offer or bring to the table. You've been called in to help most recently in the floods from last summer.
Correct.
Tell me what you were asked to do.
We were actually asked, at the time of the page, we were asked to bring any water rescue equipment we could to that area. And so we ended up taking both our boats plus our hovercraft, and it all depicts on the situation where you use what. There was areas that our hovercraft worked very well, where you couldn't put a prop in because there was fence lines, there was crocks at the end of driveways, areas that water just wasn't deep enough to make it all the way to where you were getting your rescue victims, where in the beginning it might have been. Right. So the hovercraft, we were able actually to pull right up to front doors and extricate people.
Now, when we talk about this particular apparatus, when did the department come into ownership of it?
This unit here, we got this one in 2016. We had another unit before this in 2010, and then we upgraded to this one in 2016.
So what would something like this cost back then, do you remember?
Back then, with the trailer, because it's obviously a specialized trailer to hold this, we're into it for just about $100,000.
So it's a hovercraft. Why would you need a trailer? Couldn't you just drive it to where you need to go?
Well, I wished you could. The unfortunate part is because of the land is not perfectly flat, it always wants to follow to the lowest point. So driving down the road, unfortunately in Nova Scotia, a lot of our roads have a crown in them, or we're going up or down hills. Downhill, it's gonna just want to zing. So,
right.
But then to try to stop it going down a hill or anything like that, you're gonna have to let air out of your float, so now you're gonna end up tearing up your lift capacity and maybe even the flotation of the boat.
What was the learning curve like? I was just looking on the website for the manufacturer. They said, it takes a bit of time to get used to how it operates and how it works. It's not like a boat. You don't just point it and then coast.
That's right, exactly. It's totally different to anything I've driven. Like, I'm also a pilot as well. It's kind of like a cross almost between a little bit of an airplane, maybe a snowmobile, kind of the way it works, because there's a lot of drifting with it and those kind of maneuvers. And it's not like putting the brakes on in your car and, if you're not going too fast, you can stop in 50 feet. This one here, if you get any speeded on at all, you're actually trying to figure out where you want to slow down way prior to when you get there.
You have a lot of folks who join who say, you know what, I can't wait. That's the job I want, is someday being out here on the hovercraft.
I'm sure there's a few.
Right.
And the water rescue as well. Anybody that's interested in boats loves being out on the water.
Could say someone who's never driven this vehicle before, sit in the cockpit or sit at the pilot's controls and actually steer it?
They can. I'm assuming you're asking because we're going to try that today, are we?
I'm hoping.
But normally, if you're out in what I call open water with not a lot of stuff around, it's easier to put a person in the seat, sit back behind them, and kind of explain and walk them through how to operate it.
Right.
But to actually get really proficient on it, you're probably into 5 to 10 hours to get close enough to that you're proficient, that we're not worried about, you know, from a training standpoint, that you're going to come in too fast to shore, or you're not going to get enough people in it to make sure that you're up on hover.
So where are we headed, Chief?
We're headed to Gaspereau Lake.
Okay, so how far is this?
It's approximately 11 kilometers away.
And this is normally where you'll train with the Hovey?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you have a name for it?
No, just hovercraft.
Hovercraft. Okay. Well, let's mount up and get going.
Okay.
Utility 51.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get in the back.
No, you can go right there. In the
Oh,
front.
I get this seat. Oh,
Yes.
okay. I'll take it.
Not using the tether, we don't need to use the...
Like flying a helicopter. Only this far off the ground.
Oh, that far off, right? That's the most dangerous spot.
Hey, if you fall, though, you're okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That water is wet, but it's hard, too.
Yeah, depending on how fast you hit it.
We made it to the lake. Now, what's the procedure here for getting this off the trailer and into the water?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get a couple of my members here to give us a hand, and we're gonna actually set the back tailgate down here. We're actually gonna launch it straight into the water,
Okay.
opposed to launching it on land and then going into the water. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the tailgate down, we're gonna let the sides flop out, because I can't put air in it with the sides up.
Makes
For
sense.
obvious reason, it's gonna compress everything. It's gonna be a loud noise, and we're really not getting anywhere.
What happens if there's a hole?
Not a problem if there's a hole, because we've got 5 cells on the
Okay.
PVC.
But still not
inflatable
cool.
part.
We don't want to do that, though.
No, it's still cold. That's
Okay.
right.
Hole-free and ready to wholeheartedly get in the water and make some fun.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. You mentioned it's loud, so let's kind of walk through the procedure for getting this moving. So we get to the lake. What's the first thing that happens other than unhooking it from this trailer?
Oh, okay. Well, really, we're not even gonna unhook it from the trailer until we're actually set up and got both of our engines running.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll start with our lift motor first. We'll start that, we'll let that warm up, then we'll start our thrust engine. We'll let that warm up, and we usually like to try to give that a couple minutes. Obviously, in an emergency, you don't give it as much time, but today we'll probably give it a couple minutes just to allow the engines to warm up, get up to temperature. Then we'll add our thrust to do a lift. And at that point, we'll be unhooking the front tow strap. And then we'll put it in reverse for the rear props, and we'll back it off into the water. And at that point, that's when we'll probably come back up to shore, and that's when we add another person onto the boat.
Okay.
So if we're doing any type of recovery or any water rescue, that's when. We don't try to overload it while we're on the trailer, just to make the maneuverability and the ease of getting it on or off the trailer.
So let's go back in time. You're part of the 3rd generation of Redmonds in fire service here at New Minas?
I'm second.
You're second, and your son is
third.
Is
Yeah.
third. When did you join?
I joined in 1988,
Really?
about 36 years ago.
And what was it about the fire service? Did your dad tell you had to, or did you feel it was part of the duty just to serve your community?
More of the duty to serve the community and actually something to do. At that point in the stage in the life, you know,
Yeah.
it was nice to have, you know, more adults around and actually learning from other people, mentors in the fire service. just doing a little slide that way, right up a little further. Don't worry. Close these up. There might be a little less noise. Okay. You want to do that? Close those. No,
You mentioned you're a pilot, and do you have to train people to that level to be able to operate this machine, the folks in your department?
No, it depends on the location and where you're at. Like just going to the floods last year and doing searches, we actually learned more on the ability to use it in different ways that actually work better for the location. Because normally when you're running this, you're jumping in it, you're running at full speed out to where the victim is or where the location is that you're required, and then you're slowing down, stopping, and then you're coming back. But on searches, it's totally different. Like, you may want to get to that area fast, but then you need to slow down and almost just putt along to do searches in around water, in around trees, in ditches and stuff like that.
And I saw there was a previous call a few years ago. It was with a recovery team. You were asked to come to a situation where someone might have fallen through. And this was in the valley, or down towards Yarmouth Way.
Yeah, we've done it actually here and down in the valley. We actually helped the RCMP with the recovery. We were called down. We actually helped them move across the ice to get to the area where they had to do the recovery, because at that time the ice was kind of sketchy, whether it was thick enough or not thick enough for them to be able to do the recovery. So we went down to give them a hand and supply safety as well with being able to get across the ice to that location.
It makes sense that this kind of tool works very well for that kind of application.
Yeah, it worked very well, yes.
So what's this right here?
So right there, that's the cover that's actually covering our Kohler motor on the front. It's 23 horsepower. It's got approximately 10 blades on the prop on that, opposed to the back that had 3, and that's only for lift. So in order for this unit to really do anything, we have to have lift. Unless you're on water, you can kind of push yourself like a boat. But on land or on ice or anything like that, it's better to have the lift in order to get maneuvering. So once we start putting the air down through, you'll actually see the bags here inflate, and you'll actually see the rise of the hovercraft come off the ground. You'll never actually see the black skirting come off the ground, but you'll see on dirt, you'll see sand and stuff be pushed out. So we got to be careful of that when we're doing our lifts with it, with people around, that they know not to look down so that they don't get sand in their eyes.
Like or the wash of a helicopter blade kind of deal?
Exactly, except it's coming up at you as well. And on water, you're going to get a lot of water do the same thing, actually come out from underneath and wash up.
So yeah, it's a lot quieter without the engines going.
Oh yeah, but even half isn't terrible, but
Yep. I see what you mean. It slides through the air, quote unquote, but it's not like a boat, not like a plane, not like a bike.
No,
It's its own beast.
it's totally different.
Yep.
It's totally different. Until you can get used to that sway, then you can become a good operator.
Right.
Like right now, even with the way it is, just floating. I can bring that up. Then we can move right along. It's not terrible. The good thing about it is, if I ever lose the thrust motor on water,
You're not sinking.
we're not sinking.
Right.
But saying that on land or something, well, you're not sinking anyways, but
Yeah.
if you're on ice, you can push yourself still, but on dirt, you're not really going to want to push yourself.
How big of a crew are you running with?
Depending on what we're doing, we can take up to 880 pounds. On water, it's nice to go with a lighter crew for the fact that when you're using this, a lot of the air for your lift actually pushes out, and what it does is it actually depresses the water down or pushes the water down and out, so you don't get quite the lift you do that you would on land or on ice.
Hard surface.
So it takes a little bit longer to get up to, like on a boat, up to plane, and once you're up to plane, the thing will just sail right along.
Sail right along is what speed? What are you cruising at if you can get it up to that?
Normally on water, you're usually right around that 50 to 54 kilometer range if you're wide open on flat water.
That's impressive. You have a rescue boat, and I'm sure it's maybe a little faster, or maybe not.
Yeah, it's right about the same. Like on flat water, we're almost neck and neck, but you start adding a little bit of wave or a little bit of chop to it, then this slows down a little bit.
Now, we're looking at the mechanics here. Air Rider, that's the company that built it.
Correct.
Hovercraft. And so what are these fins for?
They're basically a rudder, like the same on the back of a plane.
Okay.
So the steering wheel, with the air coming through with the prop, allows you to change direction and actually steer it.
Mm-hmm. And then we mentioned the propeller. They turn? Is that how it
Right.
works?
They're variable pitch, which we can go from 0 to 8 forward and 0 to 6 in reverse. So
what does that mean? 0 to 8, like degrees or?
Degrees in the turn.
Right.
Normally, the faster you go, the higher the pitch you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cutting through the air better and actually will move you faster.
Very impressive. Want to switch once? Absolutely, yes. God. Alrighty. And then I'll walk you through it, and then sure. Okay. So basically, whenever you're going anywhere, you kind of want to pick where you want to turn way before you get to it, right?
Yep.
Like if we're just out here doing 360s, no big deal. But like when we went through there, I did some slow down and stuff to try to get through. So the big thing is we want to start around at 3. Okay. You can do it 2 if it's windier or something to get you a little more. But that's your lift, that's your throttle. Same with that.
So this one's red line or tactical 2.5, 75?
27.
Yep.
27. You can go to 29, but we prefer to stay right around 27, stay in underneath.
Right.
And this one you can go hard to the board.
Okay.
If we do go out through there, if you only reach through, you might feel I'm just giving that. All it is just one little push.
That's adjusting the pitch by numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're at 3. So, and it's just a matter of leaning.
So this is all mechanical. There's no hydraulics here.
No. And like we said before, it's your body as much as it is the rudder steering it. So if you do something that I get worried about, I might reach up and just pull the throttles back.
Okay.
Worst part is to pull this back too quick, we'll get a real good nose dump. But just dropping the throttle and leaning sometimes will just do it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I'll sit behind you and I'll watch.
Sounds like a plan. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're a pilot and you have to get permission when you're flying for everything you do because it's a shared airspace. Because this is a boat, but it's also a hovercraft, do you need to make any announcements? Do you need to let other vessels know, or is it the typical rules of the water that apply? Stay to the left.
Typical rules of the water. Normally, if we're going into any tidal water, we'll usually get a hold of, get on Marine 16, and we'll let our intentions be known, and they'll usually stay with us during the trip until we're back out of the water through the coordinated response.
Do you have a mutual aid agreement with the departments locally? I'm just curious how they would know that they have a situation, or they go, all right, this might be a job for hovercraft. How does that work?
Normally it goes through our dispatch center.
Okay.
They'll ask for someone with water rescue capabilities to come, depending on whether it's on a lake or in tidal waters. And normally the host department will get in touch with them to determine whether it's a good spot for the hovercraft, or if it's a good spot for our bigger boat, or whether we got to put our smaller boat in.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward other than it's practice.
It's a lot of practice just to get good at going through the small spots.
And it's amazing how you can go through where a boat would never get through.
No,
which is what it's designed for.
That's right.
I'm not going to try to land this puppy, so we'll swap back here.
Okay. Well, like you were up in 37, you probably didn't even have a clue you were that fast.
No, I didn't.
So,
company that built this Air Rider, they're out of Ontario?
Correct.
So you bought it from Ontario?
We did. Yeah.
Brand new, right out of the box, so to speak.
Brand new. We actually we flew up and test drove the exact one like it,
Yeah.
and that's what convinced us to go from the older one that we had and upgrade it to the new one.
So what is a service life for one of these, since they're not that common in the fire service? You can put, you know, an age on a machine or a tanker or a pump and say, okay, the service life is this. How long is the service life for this?
Well, that we're not 100% sure. We're kind of going to try to, where this one works so well with the dual motors, the lift and everything, we're loving actually how this one works. So it's kind of sad that they're not around anymore.
Right.
But we would like to keep this in service as long as we can. A lot of it is like small engines, so we can get that stuff rebuilt. The props we can buy and stuff. So, and the hulls are basically repairable by most of the marine shops.
It's kind of like, it looks like it's the same material that an inflatable or what they call a Zodiac or whatever brand name you put on it.
Correct, it's the exact same hull.
You ever do any fishing off it?
No, never over this. We kind of like to stay away from those inflatable hulls with hooks.
That's probably a smart idea. New Minas Volunteer Fire Department, how many members?
Somewhere around 60 right now.
I want to give a heartfelt thanks to every single one of them and to you, Deputy Chief Redmond, for helping us have an adventure of a day. So everybody protected by Ranger or Rescue, good luck to all your calls going forward, and thank you so much for this. It was a great day.
No, thank you. It was a beautiful day, and you know, it wasn't too scary you're driving, so it was good.
I'm glad to know I didn't fail totally or completely.
Or completely, exactly.
I was really interested to watch how you trailer it, because it does seem like there's some timing involved.
There is, it's like a boat, really. Like anybody that's tried to put a boat on a trailer, if there's a little bit of wind at all, it's probably gonna hamper us trying to get it on nicely. But what we'll do is you gotta kind of try to nose into the wind just a little bit, try to stay low, and then give it the power once you actually start up onto the trailer. So you're kind of coming in slow and then adding power to bring you up.
And then you cut the lift, so it drops and drops. Bob's your uncle, you're home.
Well, almost, because a lot of times, unfortunately, it looks like it's easy to put on it. Like a boat trailer, they got wheels that kind of help move you into position.
Yeah.
Where it floats, it can float so that the back end's over one side or the other. So normally we'll rehook our front winch rope, and that'll help pull it all the way to the front, and then we'll have a guy or two or personnel to move the boat from one side to the other to have it lined up, and then we'll drop the air, and then Bob's your uncle.